we keep focusing on what we think is impossible. You don't know what's possible. You don't know if you were to again, simplify and realign yourself with your greatest intent, which is to live. And by living, even throughout biblical scripture, that everything is now. The God in the Bible it's a now God. Everything's about now. That Jesus teaches a prayer, and it's give us this day our daily bread. It's not saying give us yesterday's bread. It's not saying hope for tomorrow's bread. It's saying give us this day. You could fight today's battles with today's bread. Tomorrow you get new bread, which is also today's bread. And everything's about now. And if you just, Dan hit it on the head earlier when he said about that is so much refining even that seizing the day, but seizing the moment and living each moment and experiencing each moment, and you're able to do that. That's empowerment.
Absolutely, and each of us can do that. That's the thing. In one of my books called No Ordinary Moments, I have a section on self-concept and how much our self-concept, correctly or incorrectly, how limited it is, can affect our lives. And by seeing this and examining it and exploring it, we can go beyond that. In some of my seminars, in my longer workshops, sometimes we break boards with our hands, like in karate. And for many people, this is really impactful. And those who fail to break the board, and there are some who have trouble getting through it, their mind stops at the surface of the board. Those who get through it, it's not about how small or large they are, male, female, doesn't matter how much they weigh. It's those who don't break it are those whose mind stops at the surface, and those who are thinking through the board. When the board represents just one of life's little obstacles between us and our goals, their hand, bam, goes right through it like butter, like a knife through butter.
That's right, what Bruce Lee teaches in the Tao Chi Kung Do.
Yep.
It's exactly it. He says, you don't aim for that spot. You aim for behind that spot.
Exactly.
And you go through anything. He called it being like the nature of water. He said water seems weak. You could hold it in a cup, yet it could penetrate rock.
And carve the Grand Canyon.
Exactly.
And that's a good reminder. And see, that's all I or any teacher can do is offer people reminders of what we already know at deeper levels but tend to forget. That's what my work is. My books are out in 29 languages. Each one is different from the others. They're a different part of the map, a different piece of the puzzle. So I really appreciated the opportunity to share with your listeners and speak with you, Steve. And by the way, I might add, if people don't know how my name's spelled, they can also go to peacefulwarrior.com. That's my website. It goes to the same place.
And you go through anywhere. Also, if you Google Dan Millman, I've done it.
Sure.
If you're anywhere even close to spelling his name right, you're going to get there's a million pages. So you're not a difficult person to find.
No. Google's a great tool. People ask me, Dan, what is enlightenment? I just say, I Google it.
Yeah. it's about Googling. Welcome back. You're listening to Empowered Living, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. I'm your host, Steve Maraboli. For more information about A Better Today, our speeches, our programs, our seminars, please visit abettertoday.com or stevemaraboli.com. We will be out there. We're doing live events all across the U.S. and Canada, and we may be shooting over to Europe as well. If you're listening in Europe, you may see me over there probably early next year. We were speaking today with Dan Millman, author of Peaceful Warrior, and the movie came out, the book came out into a movie recently, and I suggest you get it and share it. If you have some sort of a family movie night, or if you're part of some sort of spiritual cinema group, or even a book club, I suggest you get the book. There are a few movies and books that I feel that way about. Movies like The Celestine Prophecy, Conversations with God. I think Peaceful Warrior is one of those that comes along every now and then that really has an impact and can change your life, change the way you think, and the lives of those people around you. I want to stress on something that Dan said earlier, and that's about seizing the moment and seizing the day. I talk about the 5 truths of living in an empowered state of reality. And the first truth is today's the only day in which you have any power. I want to talk about that because there's so many people out there, and I get these emails, and I get the feedbacks during the show, and there's people who have serious issues. And sometimes I'll say to you, you know what, the mess you're in may not be as bad as you think. And you know what? Truth is, some of you, the mess you're in is as bad as you think. But guess what? We've all been in messes. I don't want anyone out there to think that I have lived a perfect life, that I've never found myself in a mess, that I've never been broken, that I've never felt pain, that I've never felt overwhelmed. We're all in this process of evolving, of refining and improving. Nobody's born enlightened. Nobody's born in this spiritual knowledge. And well, actually, we are born that way. We live, and in the process of living on this earth, we kind of distance ourselves from it. So it's a part of refining and improving. And I tell you that if you're out there, if you feel broken, if you feel in your rut, if you're tired of fighting, if you're tired of the battle, what we talk about seizing the moment, seizing the day, and knowing that today is the only day in which you have power, that may be just what you need. It's not about being broken. What I've realized is that all the times I've been broken have made me an expert of mending. It's because I've been broken that I've become an expert on mending. And I haven't broken for the last time. My life continues, and as it continues, events happen and things happen around you, and there are disappointments. And sometimes you're broken by disappointment. Sometimes you stayed off drugs for a while, and then you went back on them. Maybe you lost the weight and you gained it all back. Maybe someone left you, someone cheated on you, someone abused you. Maybe you've been broken. Maybe the mess you're in is a mess. But today's a new day. And that's the advice that I offer you today as we close this show. Not being overwhelmed about the whole mess. Not sitting there thinking that you have to lose the weight for the rest of your life and that you have to now diet and exercise for the rest of your life. Not to look at it that way. Not to look at it like you have to stay away from these drugs and you have to battle your addiction to these drugs and to this alcohol for the rest of your life. But know that you just have to win today. That's it. You don't have to diet and exercise forever. Just do it today. Just follow that philosophy every single day, and you'll see how much time passes by when you're approaching it just one day at a time. When I was in basic training, it's a nightmare. They intentionally put you through hell. Basic training I went through was 6 weeks. And every night and every morning, I made it through, and I made it through basic training as an honor graduate, not because I went through any different training than anybody else, but because I thought of it differently than everyone else. As a half a week went by, I didn't say, oh, now I have 5.5 weeks left, and now I have to get through 5 weeks, and now I have 4.5 weeks left. I didn't look at it that way. I woke up every morning and said, I just need to get through today. And every morning I'd say the same thing, and next thing I knew, there I was in a nice, crisp uniform, graduating. You don't have to get through the whole mess. Just get through today. It never comes at you more than one day at a time. There aren't multiple days on your calendar. It's just today. And it comes 1 minute at a time. It comes one moment at a time. And that's the only time you need your victory. That's the only time you need to be at your best. It's the only time you need to be true to yourself. It's the only time you need to serve yourself and to be aligned is for that one moment at a time, one day at a time. And that's power. That's how you regain control of your life. You don't regain control of your life by years, and you don't gain control of your life in that sense. You gain control of each moment. And when you have control of each moment, you then gain control of each label you place on events. And before you know it, you're living an empowered life. You're no longer existing. You're living. Think about that today. Thank you for listening. You're listening to Empowered Living, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. I'm your host, Steve Maraboli. please visit us at bettertoday.com or stevemaraboli.com. I'll see you next week.